Jake Mednick, co-founder, formerly known as Babb Socks, now Major League Socks, joins us here today. How are you?
I'm great, Shad. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about you and your company. This is a fascinating story that you guys have had. You have lots of appearances with various mainstream media platforms over the course of the past couple of years, and what great relationships. But you're now known as Major League Socks, formerly known as Babb Socks, and your partnership obviously with MLSE and Mike Babcock. So talk to me. How did the whole idea start with this whole entrepreneurship that you launched? What is it, 5 years ago now?
Yeah, it's closing in on 5 years ago. It's a pretty Canadian story. It started out in a beer league dressing room.
It doesn't get any more Canadian than that.
Yeah, that's all you need. It started every Canadian short story. It started out in a beer league dressing room. No, so Babcock had just signed with the Leafs, and everyone was pumped and excited because it kind of came out of left field. And I just made a joke, what I thought was an innocent joke to get a few laughs. I said, hey, what about Mike Babcock on socks? Call him Babsocks. And my longtime friend, Tom, who I was playing with, just sort of looked at me like, I just invented electricity. And he knew. And I was skeptical, because looking back on it, it still was just, Mike Babcock's head on a sock. But he knew there was lightning in a bottle. And we hustled up a sample, and somehow the sample, got into the right hands, and Jeff O'Neill, O-Dog, retweeted a picture of it, and it just went viral, immediately.
Yeah.
Suddenly we were selling hundreds up to thousands of pairs.
So how fast did all that come together, from the initial idea in the dressing room to getting O-Dog retweeting this picture, and then suddenly you're putting together hundreds of thousands of pairs of socks?
So I'd say probably from about June to late September.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty quick from, two guys who had never run a business, had any experience doing anything like that, to being off and running and selling a whole lot of socks. We were just Babsocks for the longest time, and that was, I'll always remember that fondly. But luckily we got introduced to some folks at the NHL Alumni Association, and we got a deal there, and then that led to an introduction with the NHLPA. So now we've got players from almost every NHL team, past and present, from around the league.
Well, you guys kind of gravitated a little bit, even when you were formerly known as Babsocks. You started to come up with obviously logos and different personalities and socks and stuff like that. So was that a strategy move for you, or is it just something that, based on consumer demand and interest, that you started to pivot towards?
Well, we found out eventually that we weren't going to retire on Babs's head on a sock. It was a good start, and it gave us everything we needed to launch this.
Yeah.
But we're big hockey fans, and people would email, people would ask us about other players and what we're doing. And, it's a no-brainer. You throw Austin Matthews on a pair of these, you're gonna sell some product. But our goal, we're big sports fans in general, so luckily we've been able to start out with hockey, but we're looking to go from hockey to baseball and beyond.
I'm sure. So what right now would you say is your number one seller?
So Austin Matthews. There's Austin Matthews outsells the competition. There's the big names, Gretzky, Wendell Clark does big business for us, Stevie Y. What's funny is, out of players that aren't from the Toronto community, we sell a ton of Brad Marchand socks.
Do you really?
Yeah. Now, as a lifelong Leaf fan, don't know how to feel about it, but people love Marchand. We just sold out of them this morning, actually, funny enough.
So let's talk about, more specifically about your business as a whole. You at one time, a lot of your business obviously is online. What specific markets are strong for you right now? Obviously across Canada, but do you dip into the US, and are you global? And what's that look like?
Yeah, so we've been able to move into the US over the last 18 months. A lot slower than Canada. It's bigger. There's a lot more connections you need to make.
Okay.
But we're still in about 10 NHL arenas, which we're really proud of. the Philadelphia Flyers, the Boston Bruins both do great with our socks. We've got both Players Association and NHL alumni in there. Over the last 6 months, we got some new, really strong retail partnerships in the United States that we think we're going to get a lot more lucrative and a lot bigger in the fall. Unfortunately, that has all been turned on its head.
Right.
So we got to start from scratch a little bit in the U.S., but it's something that I'm sure a lot of businesses are dealing with.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You know, these are unprecedented times, and you know, I want to reach out to a lot of businesses and find out, like, you know, you guys are predominantly like an e-commerce platform. So, you know, it's obviously tragic with everything that's happened here, but is this almost a way that has made you just excel even more as to what you were doing before? And, you know, let's try to keep things positive. And do you look at this now as maybe this is an opportunity for you to expand?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, if I'm honest, I've had at times a lot more time than I would normally have available to me. And I've just been making the choice to improve my own abilities, understanding SEO, understanding Facebook, Instagram advertising better myself so that we can be better equipped for a more digital world going forward. There's still a lot of uncertainty. So we're just trying to stay lean as a business,
Right.
and continue to provide a tremendous product that we think people love. And
So
that's the core of it for us, is a great product.
makes sense. And it's like you dip into the US market, you talked about, you know, partnerships with some of the retail partners. Like, who are some of the people that you're speaking with right now? Is that information that you can share?
Well, we were working with Pure Hockey, who
Yep.
are a significant hockey chain in the United States, who had great success with the product leading up to Christmas, and it looked like we were going to get into a lot of stores there. And, you know, I just don't know how anybody's going to be able to react, even if hockey starts back up in the fall. And then there's new arenas that we were supposed to have deals with. The New York Rangers were tremendously successful and had planned to, you know, increase their orders and the amount of players they carry. Same with the Carolina Hurricanes. So
You sometimes look at things and say it's a little surreal that an idea in a hockey dressing room, and now you're partnering up with people like the New York Rangers. Like, that's impressive, is it not?
do you know, I try to I try to imagine or feel the sort of the importance of it, but it just becomes business as usual in some ways as well. I mean, you get excited about the new accomplishments and the new milestones, but pretty quickly after that, it sets in that you've just got to keep churning out more business and keep
Right.
doing more. And there's not as much time to think. I mean, and listen, if you told me 6 years ago I'd be doing business with the New York Rangers,
Right.
in Madison Square Garden, I'd be pretty darn excited. But now it's great, and don't get me wrong, I'm still proud of it. But you get over it pretty quick, and you got to get on to the next thing,
Right.
because the business has got to keep producing.
So maybe share some of that. It's what do you think you've learned the most over the last 2 months? And is there certain strategies that you've changed within your day-to-day business that, you know, is beneficial for you, not necessarily just for tomorrow, but say 6 months to a year down the road?
Yeah, I mean, there's like little very basic strategies. Like, you know, we're eating even more of the shipping cost for customers than we used to, because we understand that probably a lot of customers are still dealing with some financial difficulties themselves, and we want to make it more accessible to more people. We're learning a lot more than we knew before about who our customers are, what they like, where they go, and how we can find them and help them get access to our products better. But I think for us, the number one thing will always be to provide a great product. We can't
Right.
lose sight of that.
Right.
That if we can provide people something collectible, something fun, and something fashionable that celebrates their favorite hockey players and hockey teams, then we're going to have success. Cool.
That is cool. Do you still keep in touch with Mike Babcock?
You know, we're not regularly communicating, but I've got nothing but great things to say about Babs. We run a charitable program or we ran a charitable program with the GTHL in November for a few years, where Babs would coach a practice for a GTHL hockey team. The teams would go out and sell Babb Socks, and the high-selling team would get a coach with Babcock. And we did it again this year, but Babs was let go halfway through the program. But in January, he still made the drive up from Michigan.
That's great.
To coach the practice, which we thought was just fantastic. He kept his word. He was super excited to do it. I could see why he might not want to, bother with coming back up here, but he was just the best about it.
Yeah, it shows the character of a person he is. Like, that's something I think probably a lot of people would envy, to be in your position. Like, here you are having a relationship with a, former coach of a gold medal team, has won, a Stanley Cup with the Red Wings, arguably changed the whole complexion as to how NHL head coaches are paid. Yet you guys are, having an established relationship with him. So what's Mike Babcock like, as a person away from the rink when you're just hanging out with him and talking to him?
Funny. That's the number one thing I've taken away from getting to know him a bit better over the last 5 years. He's funny. He's got a humor about himself and the things around him.
So on ice, he's serious, but off the ice, doesn't take himself so serious.
Not at all. I wouldn't have guessed that. When we first met him, I was intimidated. I can tell you that much.
I'm sure a lot of people would.
And, he broke the ice with a few jokes right away and made it so easy.
One of the things I noticed online, which is great what you guys are doing right now, you teamed up with the Canadian Red Cross and are currently making socks for the frontline workers right now, the doctors and nurses of the world. How's been the feedback with that initiative?
It's been amazing, to be honest. People have been so excited about it. We were just featured on breakfast television.
That's great.
About the program. We were featured on City News. We've, gotten a lot of, really, really strong support. The way we saw it was, our company's all about celebrating our sports heroes on socks. There's some more important heroes to celebrate though right now. So we wanted to show our support and raise a bit of money for a good cause.
Listen, I want to wish you all the best. Wish you and your family, safe times during what we're going through. Happy to hear a great story with, Canadian entrepreneurs that are being successful in the partnerships that you've created. And just to make sure that we follow you on Instagram, what are your handles?
We are at ML Socks on Twitter and at Major League Socks on everything else.